Viksha Laksha Vriteshi Surabi Pipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kwanantam Aravindam Dalaya Taksham Barhavatam Samhasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Malya Vamshi Radnangadam Pranayakeli Kala Vilasham Shyamam Tribangalalitam Niyata Prakasham Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angam Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti Manti Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiranjaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktao Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Shatavatsara Sambragamyo Vayoradhapi Manaso Munipungavanam Sopyastiya Prapadasimnya Vichintya Tattve Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Saura Chaditum Jagadanda Kotim Yat Shakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayaya Danta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavi Tatiyo Manujasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sayanana Bhusha Sukteryameva Nagama Pratitaistu Vanti Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabir Yeeva Nijarupa Tayakalabhi Goloke Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Puto Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramari Muti Shakalani Amena Tishtan Nanavatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yes Prabha Prabhapato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shashesha Vasudari Vibhuti Bhinnam Tat Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Shatani Sute Traigunyatad Vishaya Veda Vitaya Mana Sattva-valambi Parasattvam Vishuddha Sattvam Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmataya Manasu Yapraninam Pratipalam Smarutamupetia Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jayatya Jastram Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Golokanam Nijadam Nitale Tatasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Yena Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Shristi Stiti Pralaya Sarana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Viparti Durga Ishchanurupamapi Yasya Chacheshta Tesa Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Shiram Yatada Vikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Nahitatah Pratagasti Heto Yashambhutam Apitata Samupaiti Karyat Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Chireva Hidashantanamabhyupetya Dipayate Vravita Hetu Samana Dharma Yastadrageva Hicha Vishnu Chaya Vibhati Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Yakaranarna Bhajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidramananta Jagadanda Saromakupaha Adhara Shaktim Avalamya Param Smamurtim Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Yashaikanishvasitakala Valamya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadananatha Vishnur Mahansa Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Pathpanyatasma Sakaleshu Nijeshu Teja Swiyam Kiya Prakatayatha Vitadvadatra Brahmaya Esha Jagadanda Vidhana Karta Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Pallava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Vande Pranama Samaye Saganadi Raja Vignan Vidhantu Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahi Ganganamam Murudishashcha Kalastatatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Yat Shakshare Sasavita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha Yasyagnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Tapapa Nichaya Shutayastapamsi Brahmadikita Patagavadayascha Jiva Yadatra Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Yastvindra Gopamatavindra Mohosa Karma Bandhanurupa Palabhajana Matunoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Cha Bhakti Bhajam Govindamari Purusham Dhamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayari Piti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai sanchintya tasya sadrishim dhanamapurete govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Sriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumishchintamani Ghanamayi Toyamamritam Kataganam Natyam Kamanamapi Vamshi Priyasaki Chidanandam Jyoti Paramapi Taraswadyam Apicha Sayatra Shirabdi Sravati Surabhibhyasya Sumahan Nimeshartyakyo va vrajati nahi atrapi samayaha Vaje shweta dvipam tamahamiha golokamityam Vidantaste shantakshiti viralachara katipaye Ato vacha mahavishnur bhagavantam prajapatim Brahman mahatva vignane prajasarge chachinmati Pancha slokim imam vidyam vachatapam nibodame Prabhude jnana bhakti vyam mayananda chinmayi Udetunutama bhaktir bhagava prema lakshana Pramanaistat saracharaistadabhyasir narantaram Bodhayanatmanatmanam bhaktim abhyutamam labe Yasya sreyaskaram nasti yaya nivritumapnuyad Yasaryati mameva bhaktim tameva sadhaye Dharmam anyan parityaja mamekam bhaja vishwasan Yadrishi yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi Kurvan nirantaram karma loko yam manavartate Tenaiva karmana dhyayam mamparam bhaktimicchati Aham hi vishwasya characharasya Vijam pradhanam prakriti pumamscha Maya hitam teja idam bivarshi Vide videhi tvamato jaganti Ishvara parama Krishna Sakchidananda vigraha Anadiradir govinda sarva karana karanam Sri Brahma Sanghita Sampurnam Hari Om Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji Ki Jai. Please turn to page 111. This is text number 61. Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me, by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of the supreme service. Purport: the function characterized by unalloyed devotion is the real function of all individual souls, jivas. All of the varieties of function are activities of the external cases. These exoteric and esoteric dharmas, functions, are manifold. Example, non-differential knowledge of the Brahman aiming at extinction of individuality. The Ashtanga Yoga Dharma having as its goal attainment of the state of exclusive existence, Kaivalya. Aesthetical fruit of ritualism aimed at material enjoyment. Gyan Yoga Dharma, seeking to combine knowledge with fruit of activity and the practice of the function of barren asceticism. Getting rid of all these, serve me by pure devotion rooted in faith. Exclusive faith in me is trust. Faith in the form of trust, by the process of gradual purification, tends to become a constant engagement. Nishtha, an object of liking, ruchi, of attachment, asakti, and a real sentiment, bhava. The more transparent the faith, the greater the degree of realization. If you ask, how will the preservation and conduct of worldly affairs be feasible if one is continuously engaged in the endeavor for the realization of bhakti? What also will be the nature of the endeavor for the realization of bhakti when the body will perish, consequent on the cessation of the function of the body and of society? In order to strike at the root of this misgiving, the Supreme Lord says, this world subsists by the constant performance of certain activities. Fill all these activities with meditation of me. This will destroy the quality that makes those activities appear as acts done by you. They will then be of the nature of my service, bhakti. Mankind live by the threefold activities of body, mind, and society: eating, seating, walking, resting, sleeping, cleansing the body, covering the body, etc., are the various bodily activities. Thinking, recollecting, retaining an impression, becoming aware of an entity, feeling pleasure and pain, etc., are the mental feats. Marrying, practicing reciprocal relationship between the king and subject, practicing brotherhood, attending at sacrificial meetings, offering oblations, digging wells, tanks, etc., for the benefit of the people, maintaining one's relations, practicing hospitality, observing proper civil conduct, showing due respect to others, are the various social activities. When these acts are performed for one's selfish enjoyment, they are called karma kanda. When the desire for attainment of freedom from activity by knowledge underlies these actions, they are termed jnana yoga or karma yoga. And when these activities are managed to be performed in this way, that is conducive to our endeavor for attainment of bhakti, they are called jnana bhakti yoga. That is, the subsidiary devotional practices. But only those activities that are characterized by the principle of pure worship are called bhakti proper. My meditation is practiced in every act when bhakti proper is practiced in due time, while performing the subsidiary devotional activities in one's intercourse with the ungodly people of this world. In such position, a jiva does not become apathetic to Godhead, even by performing those worldly activities. This constitutes the practice of looking inwards, that is, turning towards one's real self. Sri Upanishad, Ishavasham midang sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magridha kasisuddanam. The commentator says in regard to this, tena isha tyaktena vishrishtena. The real significance being that if whatever is accepted be received as favor vouchsafed by the Supreme Lord, the worldly activities will cease to be and will turn into service of Godhead, bhakti. So Ishavasya says, Kurvanevi hakarmani karma lipyate nare. If the worldly acts are performed in the above manner, one does not get entangled in karma, even in hundreds of years of worldly life. The meaning of these two mantras from the Gyan point of view is renouncement of the fruits of one's worldly actions. But from the Bhakti point of view, they mean the attainment of Krishna's favor, prasadam, by their transfer to his account. In this method, which is the path of Archan, you should do your duties of the world by the meditation of worshipping Godhead thereby. Brahma cherishes the desire for creation in his heart. If that creative desire is practiced by conjoining the same with the meditation of obeying therein the command of the Supreme Lord, then it will be a subsidiary spiritual function, gauna dharma, being helpful for the growth of the disposition for the service of the divinity by reason of its characteristic of seeking the protection of Godhead. It was certainly proper to instruct Brahma in this manner. There is no occasion for such instruction in the case of a jiva in whom the spontaneous aversion for entities other than Krishna manifests itself on his attainment of the substantive entity of spiritual devotion, bhava. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Viditam Dina Tasmai Sh Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadhutam Paritana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Verifiable symptoms of an advanced Vaishnava. Learn the verifiable symptoms of spiritual advancement as taught in the bonafide scriptures. Quote, spiritual masters do not become perfect souls by dint of their serving as initiating gurus. Neither do they become perfect simply because they are supported by zealous neophyte disciples. The only indication of a devotee's degree of advancement is the presence of the discernible qualities that have systematically been described in Scripture. Therefore, one should evaluate Vaishnavas in general and spiritual masters in particular by the presence or absence of these qualities. That's a quote from the book Suddha-bhakti-cintamani by Shivaram Swami. And first, I'll read from the Nectar of Instruction. We have the words of Rupa Goswami, and in this book, he defines the various kinds of Vaishnavas, because, and I'm going to look at first at verse number 5. You pass out the Nectar of Instruction. In verse number 4, Rupa Goswami has recommended that we associate with devotees through the 6 loving exchanges. Dadati pratigranati guhyam akyati prichyati bhunkte bhojayate chaiva shadvidam pratilakshanam. These are the 6 loving exchanges between devotees: giving gifts, accepting gifts, giving prasad, accepting prasad, revealing one's mind and hearing others reveal their mind. Guhyam akyati prichyati. That means there are realizations in the heart of the devotee, and one should exchange those realizations with others. Particularly, as we'll hear in the next verse, one should associate with devotees who are more advanced than oneself and hear their realizations, which are based on the authoritative scriptures. So, this is the recommendation by Rupa Goswami in verse number 4. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Krishna consciousness movement is based on these loving exchanges. That he started the Krishna consciousness movement in the West by extending what was in his heart to others, by holding open class, by chanting in public, by speaking one-on-one to people who were seekers and who are open to hearing. And in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 13th chapter, Krishna says, may I have a Bhagavad Gita, please? That some people come to realize the Supersoul because they are open to hearing. And if they simply submissively hear from the right source, then they'll become perfectly self-realized. That verse you'll find in 13th chapter, and the verse number is 26. Anye tvevam ajanataha shutvanebhya upasate tepi chatitarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Purport spoken from the lotus mouth of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing. Because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse, particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back home, back to Godhead. Antya-lila, Volume 1, Chapter 1, please. So, there's a way in which Guyamakyati Prichati, those who have faith in the Scripture, after hearing, and who develop into pure devotees, go out into the society and associate with others. Antya. And when they do, those who are good souls, open-hearted, will be able to advance to the highest position of knowledge and become pure devotees themselves. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Antya-lila. Chapter 1, text 32. Aro dino keho taro dheka na paila siddha deha paya kukur vaikuntete gela. This is about a dog who went back to Godhead. The next day no one saw that dog, for it had obtained its spiritual body and departed from Vaikuntha, the spiritual kingdom. Purport: this is the result of sadhu sangha, consequent association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and promotion back home, back to Godhead. This result is possible even for a dog by the mercy of the Vaishnava. Therefore, everyone in the human form of life should be induced to associate with devotees. By rendering a little service, even by eating prasadam, what to speak of chanting and dancing, everyone can be promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. It is therefore requested that all our devotees in the ISKCON community become pure Vaishnavas, so that by their mercy, all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuntha Loka, even without their knowledge. Did you understand the request? You've been requested to become pure Vaishnavas. Everyone should be given a chance to take prasadam and thus be induced to chant the holy names Hare Krishna and also dance in ecstasy. By these three processes, although performed without knowledge or education, even an animal went back to Godhead. So this association, dadati pratigranati kuyamakyati prachiti bhunkte bo jayate chaiva shadvidam pratilakshanam. The loving exchanges that take place between Vaishnavas. When ordinary people associate with those who have pure faith, as we heard just now from the Brahma Samhita, Dharman anyan parityaja mamekam bhaja vishvasan yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi. Bhavati tadrishi, to the degree that you develop your faith step by step as your faith thickens in the process of hearing Shastra and associating with Vaishnavas, to that degree you'll attain perfection. And by that, those who are in a perfected state, they can also make others perfect. And that's the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Now, in verse number 5 of the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami tells the appropriate ways to associate with various classes of devotees. And it's particularly important, as Prabhupada says, for loving exchanges, select proper persons with careful discrimination. Please repeat. For loving exchanges, select proper persons with careful discrimination. For loving exchanges, select proper persons with careful discrimination. For loving exchanges, select proper persons with careful discrimination. With what? And who should you select? For what? Yeah, loving exchanges. Loving exchanges go on in this world naturally because that's what people do. They're interested in loving exchanges. That's all that's going on in this world. And therefore, the essence of advancement in devotional service is to select proper persons for these loving exchanges with careful discrimination. And also, Prabhupada says, one should meet with Vaishnavas in a proper way according to their particular status. Please repeat. One should meet with Vaishnavas in a proper way according to their status. One should meet with Vaishnavas in a proper way according to their particular status. One should meet with Vaishnavas in a proper way according to their particular status. One should meet with whom? And how should one meet them? According to what? Correct. So we are not impersonalists who just say it's all one and it doesn't matter who you associate with or how. But we make proper discrimination, and that's why Rupa Goswami wrote verse number 5, to give us an idea of the different levels of Vaishnavas and how to associate with them. A couple of weeks ago, we discussed Lord Kapiladev's instructions about the devotees who perform bhakti in tamogun, rajagun, sattvagun, and in transcendence. And we understood from that there are devotees who may be affected by lower modes of material nature. So there's discrimination should be used to see how a person is conducting his or her process of devotional service, and therefore will determine how to associate with such a person. In this verse, which I'm going to read right now, Rupa Goswami talks about three general categories of Vaishnavas, defined as the beginning, the middle, and the most advanced. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. This is text number 47. Page number 47, text number 5. I'll say again. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. Dikshasti chet pranati bishcha bhajantamisham. Shushushaya bhajana vijnamananyamanya. Nindari shunya hridam ipsita sangalabhya. Krishna, the holy name of Lord Krishna. Iti, thus, yasya, of whom, giri, in the words or speech, tam, him, manasa, by the mind, adriyeta, one must honor, diksha, initiation, asti, there is, chet, if, pranatibihi, by obeisances, cha, also, bhajantam, engaged in devotional service, isham, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, shushrushraya, by practical service, bhajana vijnam, one who is advanced in devotional service, ananyam, without deviation, anyadnindadadi, of blasphemy of others, etc. Shunya, completely devoid. Hridam, whose heart. Ipsita, desirable. Sangha, association. Labhya, by gaining. Translation. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and who is engaged in worshiping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. The word verify, before I begin the purport, comes from Latin, and the root of that word verify is veris, which means true. So, as we listen to this purport, please note what are verifiable symptoms of the various levels of devotees. The point is that we've been asked to discriminate between various kinds of devotees so that we can associate in the proper way. And to understand what's a particular level of devotee, to understand the various levels of devotees, we must be able to verify through symptoms. So these will, to some degree, be mentioned in this purport, so let's make a particular note of that, okay? Purport. In order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. Srila Rupa Goswami, therefore, advises that we should meet with the Vaishnavas in an appropriate way according to their particular status. In this verse, he tells us how to deal with three types of devotees: the Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person within his mind as Kanishta Vaishnav. A Madhyama Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master. and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Madhyama Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. The Uttama Adhikari, or highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. An Uttama Adhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean, and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, the association and service of such a Maha Bhagavata, or perfect Vaishnava, are most desired. One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. Such a devotee is described in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.47. Acharyameva hareye pujam yashadaye hate nadhat bhakteshu chanyeshu sapakta prakrita smritaha. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave toward devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta or kanishta adhikari. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of kanishta adhikari to the platform of madhyama adhikari. The madhyama adhikari is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.46 in this way. Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu dvishatsu cha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. The madhyama adhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love, makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature. This is the way to cultivate devotional service properly. Therefore, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised us how to treat various devotees. We can see from practical experience there are different types of Vaishnavas. The Prakrita Sahajyas generally chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that they are attached to women, money, and intoxication. Although such persons may chant the holy name of the Lord, they are not yet properly purified. Such people should be respected within one's mind, but their association should be avoided. Those who are innocent but simply carried away by bad association should be shown favor if they are eager to receive proper instructions from pure devotees. But those neophyte devotees who are actually initiated by the bonafide spiritual master and are seriously engaged in carrying out the orders of the spiritual master should be offered respectful obeisances. So that's a long way to come to the position of pure faith and then actually accept initiation. Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpan She Kali Krishna Tari Kari Atmasam. Atmasam means that a person who accepts Diksha, initiation, becomes very intimate with the Lord. Because Atmasam means that the same as myself. It means that we're close. You're intimate friends, and those who are very close with have the same mindset as you, Atmasam. So there are many, many people. Well, there are unlimited living entities in the material world. And Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatiti siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. That out of many, many thousands of men, one will endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Has become those who are siddha, hardly one will come to the perfection of that, to engage in pure devotional service. So we should see that it's a very rare soul who has the spark of pure faith in their heart. Even if such a person has still got rough qualities, if they have the determination in their heart to serve Krishna purely, and they're making the endeavor for that, we should know that they are worshipable to us. Even we offer obeisances in our mind that they're chanting Hare Krishna. And when such a person becomes elevated through practice of association with devotees and hearing and practicing the regulative principles to the point of eligibility for initiation and takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, accepts initiation, then that person is so rare, says Rupa Goswami, and exalted, that we should pay them obeisances. We should not forget to do this because devotees are very dear to Krishna, who have taken shelter of a Vaishnava, have taken shelter of Krishna through a Vaishnava. In this Krishna consciousness movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination of caste, creed, or color. Do we discriminate?
No.
What about according to caste? Only Brahmins can be elevated to the highest position. Is it true or false? What about creed? You have to be from a certain creed in order to make advancement. What about color? Only, True or false?
False.
False. Anyone can be elevated to the position of devotional service. Bhagavatam says, Kirata hunandra pulinda pulkasha bira shumba yavana kasadaya yenecha papa yarapashraya shaya shudyanti tasmai pravavishnave namaha. That because of Vishnu's power that he exhibits through the Vaishnavas, anyone who takes shelter of a Vaishnava can be purified and come to the perfectional stage of life. And there's no discrimination whatsoever. Even a worm can come to the perfectional stage. Prabhupada says that. He quotes a verse in the second canto of the Bhagavatam that says, even a worm. I have a lot of earthworms in my yard. And Carlos wants to come over and preach to him. So he said even an earthworm who follows the direction of a pure devotee will come to the perfect stage of life. Points? Question,
Maharaj. We heard these verses from Bhagavatam, like Kiratunanda you quoted just now. But then also we see like why in Indian society these things are prevalent, that only Brahmanas, when it is so clearly mentioned in the
It's the bodily conception of life. Because the bodily conception of life is prominent in the material world, people tend to identify with their own caste, creed, or color and say only this one. But the devotees are not on the bodily conception of life, and devotional service is transcendental to those considerations. Yes?
I have a question about the Kanishta-adhikari sentence, which says that Kanishta-adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master. What is Harinam initiation by spiritual master?
There are 5 stages of initiation, and the first is called tapa, which means that you begin to turn off the material world and see it as not your home. And you perform some austerity and you feel repentance in your heart for having participated in this whole colossal hoax in the first place. And the second is pondra, which means you start decorating your body with the urva pundra, this tilak, and showing the outward signs of a Vaishnava. And the next is nama, which means that you accept shelter of a bona fide Vaishnava and you get a new name. It's the witness protection program. Like when a criminal states evidence and turns himself in, the government gives him a new name and location so that the underworld can't come and rub him out. So we take a new name and dedicate ourselves in a completely different way so the Maya can't come get us. So Nam initiation means that you take the name from a Vaishnava. The name doesn't wait for initiation. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is open to anyone. Anyone can come down to move to Vrindavan if they so feel like it, and they can sit in the 24-hour kirtan for the rest of their life. They don't have to do anything else. No one can stop them. And there's no regulation that says you can't make advancement in the process of devotional service, especially by chanting the holy name of the Lord. It's open to everyone. However, the acharyas have said that if you can get the name from a Vaishnava and you don't take it, means you don't take shelter of a Vaishnava, and you just go on chanting and you ignore all the other advanced Vaishnavas who are already chanting, then your chanting will remain in an offensive stage. And also, Haridas Thakur says that when you accept the name and the dedication to chant the name, you should be under shelter of a Vaishnava to constantly hear Sambandha Gyan, because the two have to go side by side. We have to hear about our situation in this material world and our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly to remain interested in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because the Maya is so strong that we can lose our taste and forget. After that comes mantra initiation. After you accept Harinam initiation, then there's purification, there's learning in the Shastra, and then you come to the point of accepting the mantra. And these mantras are the Krishna mantra, which is passed down through the Gaudiya Vaishnava disciplic succession. Very powerful medicine to connect one in a very intimate way with Krishna by meditating on these mantras. And they also qualify you for yaga. Yaga means that you perform personal service to the deity. This is very important in advancement for devotional service. To bathe and dress the deity are two items that quickly advance one to the stage of personally loving Krishna, because they're very personal activities, and when one gets to touch the deity's form and enter into his room and so forth and bring him food, it's a very intimate connection that purifies the heart and allows one to realize the import of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra even more powerfully. And similarly, the mantras that we chant, that we receive from the spiritual master at the time of mantra initiation, do the same thing. And the mantra is the same as the deity. And this is called mantrupasana. There are certain kinds of mantras that we worship, we meditate on, and they take their shape in the form of the deity and also a particular scene in the spiritual world. Like we chant, which this isn't an initiated mantra, but the mantra Venum Kwanantam Aravinnam Dalaya Taksham Bharavatamsam Asitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamham Bhajami is a mantra that Prabhupada gave us to meditate on every day, especially while we're looking at the deity. And Jiva Goswami says in his Sandarbha that this is a mantrupasana. By meditating on this scene, it's a non-moving scene. Venum Kwanantam, we're seeing one picture. Just as when we look at the altar, we see one picture. And as we meditate on the mantra and that particular scene of the spiritual world, then we'll actually enter into it. And this becomes Swarasiki meditation, which is epitomized by the other verse that we chant, which says, Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpavriksha lakshavriteshu surabira bipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That mantra moves from one scene to the next, what's going on in the spiritual world. So mantrupasana is like the lakes that are along the Saraswati River. The river's moving, but there are lakes along the side that stay still. And the devotees who chant these mantras, they're like the swans who swim back and forth on the lake, enjoying that lake. And then swarasiki means when one's meditation begins to flow and move through the different pastimes, seeing Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world. In any case, Nam we call Harinam. We take Harinam. It means that we accept a new name, Das or Dasi, so we're redesignated, and we also take a vow to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Okay? When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as a disciple for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. When a neophyte devotee is actually initiated and engaged in devotional service by the orders of the spiritual master, he should be accepted immediately as a bonafide Vaishnava, and obeisances should be offered unto him. Out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulative principles. Out of many such Vaishnavas, please repeat. one may be found to be very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulative principles, chanting the prescribed number of rounds on japa beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such a Vaishnava should be accepted as an Uttama Adhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and his association should always be sought. Okay, so according to Prabhupada's definition in this purport, what are the observable, verifiable symptoms of an Uttama Adhikari? Always chanting? Always chanting on his japa beads. Strictly following the regulative principles. Always thinking of expanding the Krishna consciousness movement. Very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord. That wasn't mentioned here yet. But that's coming up, isn't it? Okay, take from the translation. He devoid of the propensity to blaspheme others. Are any of those are any of those symptoms verifiable? Do you think? Who said yes? Yes. In what way are they verifiable? Which symptom and how is it verifiable?
So if they're chanting the prescribed number of rounds, you will see them chanting.
Okay.
And then what was the next one? They I'll tell about the one about not wanting to criticize. If there's a group of people and they are criticizing, they will walk away from that place because they do not really want to continue on with that.
One was what was the first one you said? That they're
always
chanting.
Yeah.
You'll notice that they're engaged in seriously chanting Hare Krishna. And the second one you said that they're not inclined toward criticizing. They'll walk away if you start in the conversation. Okay. Any other verifiable symptoms? Go ahead.
Like very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord. At least from the way whatever they talk, it's always related to Krishna consciousness. They do not talk about anything else. So that makes me understand.
Okay,
that
how they
very
speak
serious
is
there.
That's how their speech is very important, right? What they're saying.
Yeah.
They're not talking about all kinds of other things. They're talking about things related to Krishna. And what's other kind of engagement that's verifiable? Can you see people engaged in devotional service?
Prabhu, you said they're always thinking about expanding the Krishna consciousness movement.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be seen. I mean, it could be seen in the way that whatever they are getting, how they are employing it. So, if it isn't being employed in service of Krishna, so in that way we can.
People who are seriously engaged in something like at a company or somewhere, they show up. They're always there, right? You can depend on them to be there for their work. They're seriously they're steady. There's a kind of steadiness that's just verifiable. If somebody actually shows up for their assignments all the time, you can see some steadiness. And there's a way in which, we vote with our feet, we vote with our money, we vote in these different ways. So those who are eager to spread the Krishna conscious movement around the world and are always scheming how to do that, we can see from how they vote with their time, their money, their activities, and so forth, right? To the degree that they're doing that, we can see. It's verifiable. Yes?
I'm just remembering when I joined my work here. So that time my manager was very unhappy because I was just new. Then I see like just now as the time is passing, so he was commenting me. Now I'm very happy because I'm seeing this like you are dependable. You whatever task has been given, you do that task. And second thing he was telling that you get along with other people very well. You don't fight with them. So these are verifiable symptoms he found. So that his just comment before 6 months and now I can see that there is two different comments.
Right. So you're pointing out that it's verifiable because you're getting feedback. Over time, your superior can look and say, well, he's not superior, but in our opinion, your boss will look and say, this is verifiable that you're serious, you're showing up for everything. Right. Okay, so these are Prabhupada's definitions of the Uttama Adhikari. Continuing the purport, the process by which a devotee becomes attached to Krishna is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 4.192. Diksha Kali Bhaktakari Atma Samarpan, She Kali Krishna Tari Kari Atma Sam. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. Diksha, or spiritual initiation, is explained in the Bhakti Sandarbha 868 by Srila Jiva Goswami. By who? Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam Tasmat Diksheti Sa Prokta Deshi Kais Tatvakovidai. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. We have seen many practical examples of this, especially in Europe and America. Many students who come to us from rich and respectable families quickly lose all interest in material enjoyment and become very eager to enter into spiritual life. Although they come from very wealthy families, many of them accept living conditions that are not very comfortable. Indeed, for Krishna's sake, they are prepared to accept any living condition as long as they can live in the temple and associate with the Vaisnavas. When one becomes so disinterested in material enjoyment, he becomes fit for initiation by the spiritual master. For the advancement of spiritual life, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.113 prescribes tapasa brahmacharyena shamena cha tamena cha. When a person is serious about accepting diksha, he must be prepared to practice austerity, celibacy, and control of the mind and body. If one is so prepared and is desirous of receiving spiritual enlightenment, divyam jnanam, he is fit for being initiated. Divyam Jnanam is technically called Tadvijnana, or knowledge about the Supreme. Tadvijnanartam sagurum eva bigacche. When one is interested in the transcendental subject matter of the Absolute Truth, he should be initiated. Such a person should approach a spiritual master in order to take Diksha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21 also prescribes Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jignasu Shreya Uttamam. When one is actually interested in the transcendental science of the Absolute Truth, he should approach a spiritual master. One should not accept a spiritual master without following his instructions, nor should one accept a spiritual master just to make a fashionable show of spiritual life. One must be jignasu, very much inquisitive, to learn from the bona fide spiritual master. The inquiries one makes should strictly pertain to transcendental science, jignasu shreya uttamam. The word uttamam refers to that which is above material knowledge. Tama means the darkness of this material world, and ut means transcendental. Ut means what? Generally, people are very interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters, but when one has lost such interest and is simply interested in transcendental subject matters, he is quite fit for being initiated. When one is actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, and when he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted as a Madhyama Adhikari. The chanting of the holy names of Krishna is so sublime that if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly, carefully avoiding the 10 offenses, he can certainly be gradually elevated to the point of understanding that there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. One who has reached such an understanding should be very much respected by neophyte devotees. One should know for certain that without chanting the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one cannot be a proper candidate for advancement in Krishna consciousness. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.69 it is said, Jahar Komal Shraddha, She Kanishta Jano, Krame Krame Teho, Bhakta Ebe Uttamo. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte, but by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first-class devotee. This is an important verse. Krame krame means step by step. Neophyte devotee, the Kanishta Adhikari, has the lowest qualification. Adhikari means a qualification. So the Kanishta Adhikari, as we'll hear in the subsequent paragraphs, is one who has soft faith. Komal Shraddha means his faith can be broken if he hears some different philosophy. And he also doesn't know scripture very well. He can't defend himself scripturally. And the Madhyama Adhikari is one who has firm faith, but doesn't know scripture very well. However, that person with the strong faith has the adhikari, qualification to move up into the higher realms of devotional service. One who's a kanishta adhikari has the qualification to come to the point of unsteady devotional service. A person who is a madhyama adhikari has the qualification to come to nishta, or steady devotional service. But a person who has the qualification as an uttam can come to the stages of ruchi, asakti, and bhava, and the higher stages of devotional service. We're not meant to stay in the lower stages of devotional service. We have to qualify ourselves. This is the whole point of practicing devotional service, is to become more qualified to engage in advanced devotional service. So by following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, enthusiastically, with patience and determination, avoiding bad association, one can gradually elevate oneself to the higher stages of devotional service. How? Krame, step by step. In the science of advancement and reaching goals, between one step and the next, there's always a problem or obstacle. And one must overcome that obstacle to move to the next step. Those who are very advanced are highly regarded. Why? Because they've gone through the process and they've overcome the obstacles. And it didn't happen just by chance. It happened by their own determined effort to stick to the process, and to krame, step by step, come to the elevated stage of devotional service. So one must be very determined to continue the process under all circumstances. No matter what happens to one, doesn't matter, but how we respond to that matters, and that is that we go on praying to Krishna, and we continue in the process of devotional service. As we do so, we'll come to the higher stages of devotional service. So my main point is, well, I won't make the point because Prabhupada already makes it, and I'll just continue. Everyone begins his devotional life from the neophyte stage, but if one properly finishes chanting the prescribed number of rounds of Harinam, of what? Harinam. He is elevated step by step to the highest platform, Uttamadhikari. So if one properly finishes chanting the prescribed number of rounds and starts at the neophyte stage, what might happen step by step? Rise to the highest platform, Uttamadhikari. No one's meant to stay in the lower stages. We're meant to advance. Krame, you have to move up. The Krishna consciousness movement prescribes 16 rounds daily because people in the Western countries cannot concentrate for long periods of while chanting on beads. Therefore, the minimum number of rounds is prescribed. However, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that unless one chants at least 64 rounds of japa, 100,000 names, he is considered fallen, patita. According to his calculation, practically every one of us is fallen, but because we are trying to serve the Supreme Lord with all seriousness and without duplicity, we can expect the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is famous as Patit Pavan, the deliverer of the fallen. With all seriousness and without duplicity. Two very important points. When Srila Satyaraj Khan, a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, asked the Lord how a Vaishnava could be recognized, the Lord replied, Prabhu kahe, jar muke shuni ek baru, Krishna nam she puja shreshta shabakar. If one hears a person say even once the word Krishna, that person should be accepted as the best man out of the common group. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, Ataiva jar muke Krishna nam, Shetad Vaisnava kariha, Tahar shaman. One who is interested in chanting the holy name of Krishna, or who by practice likes to chant Krishna's name should be accepted as a Vaishnava and offered such respects as such, at least within one's mind. One of our friends, a famous English musician, has become attracted to chanting the holy names of Krishna, and even in his records he has several times mentioned the holy name of Krishna. At his home he offers respect to pictures of Krishna and also to the preachers of Krishna consciousness. In all regards, he has a very high estimation for Krishna's name and Krishna's activities. Therefore, we offer respects to him without reservation, for we are actually seeing that this gentleman is advancing gradually in Krishna consciousness. Such a person should always be shown respect. The conclusion is that anyone who is trying to advance in Krishna consciousness by regularly chanting the holy name should always be respected by Vaishnavas. On the other hand, we have witnessed that some of our contemporaries who are supposed to be great preachers have gradually fallen into the material conception of life because they have failed to chant the holy name of the Lord. While giving instructions to Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided devotional service into three categories. Shastra Yukti Nahi Joni Drida Shadhaban, Madhyama Adhikari She Mahabhagyavan. A person whose conclusive knowledge of the Shastras is not very strong, but who has developed firm faith in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and who is also undeterred in the execution of his prescribed devotional service, should be considered a Madhyama Adhikari. I think this word undeterred is very important. In fact, I wrote it down. Undeterred comes from Latin. Would you like to know what it means?
Yes.
It's deterrere, from Latin de, which means away from, plus terrere, frighten. So to discourage someone from doing something, typically by instilling doubt or fear of the consequences. So someone moves away out of fear, means they're deterred. So undeterred means they become courageous. In the face of so many obstacles, a person becomes undeterred. This is a sign of a Madhyama Adhikari. His faith is becoming stronger. Yadrishi Shraddha Siddhir Bhavati Tadrishi. As faith increases, one becomes undeterred, not afraid to move forward in the face of obstacles, is not moved by them, but continues in devotional service under all circumstances. Is this a verifiable symptom that we can see somebody who's undeterred as they practice their devotional service? Yes? We should look for that. Such a person is very fortunate. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22.67. A Madhyama Adhikari is a Shraddhavan, a staunchly faithful person. And he is actually a candidate for further advancement in devotional service. So Shraddhavan, yes. Shraddhavan means that in Bhagavad Gita 10:14, Arjuna exhibits the symptom of a Shraddhavan when he says, "O Krishna, I totally accept what you have told me." This is the symptom of a Shraddhavan. Whatever, I totally accept what you say, Krishna. The Shraddhavan has complete faith in the scripture and the words, the revealed scriptures, the words spoken by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, and lives in those Shastras, becomes undeterred by taking shelter of the Shastra. Therefore, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.64, it is said, Shraddhavan jano hoy bhakti adhikari uttama madhyam kanishta shraddha anusari. One becomes qualified as a devotee on the elementary platform, the intermediate platform, and the highest platform of devotional service according to the development of his shraddha, faith. Again, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.62, it is said, Shraddha Shabde Bishwash Kahe Sudrida Nishchay Krishne Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. By rendering transcendental service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. What does subsidiary mean? Pardon me?
Religiosity, Like
just in general, subsidiary. Secondary, less important, right? So a person who's engaged in devotional service with faith means he or she considers that devotional service is all important, everything else is not as important. This is the sign of faith. Devotional service is important. So you can see that in yourself. What do you consider most important? Devotional service or other kinds of engagements or topics and so on and so forth. And one who's advancing begins to exclusively want to hear about devotional service and be engaged in devotional service because he or she considers that to be all important where everything else is subsidiary. This confident, firm faith favorable to the discharge of devotional service is called Shraddha. Shraddha, faith in Krishna, is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. Faith means strong faith. The words of Bhagavad Gita are authoritative instructions for faithful men. And whatever Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is to be accepted as it is, without interpretation. This is the way Arjuna accepted Bhagavad Gita. After hearing Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna told Krishna, Sarvam etad ritam manye yanmam bhadasi keshava. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. This is the correct way of understanding Bhagavad Gita, and is called Shraddha. It is not that one accepts a portion of Bhagavad Gita according to his own whimsical interpretations and then rejects another portion. This is not Shraddha. Shraddha means accepting the instructions of Bhagavad Gita in their totality, especially the last instruction, Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 1866. When one becomes completely faithful in regard to this instruction, one's strong faith becomes the basis for advancing in spiritual life. Sweet, right? When one fully engages in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he gradually realizes his own spiritual identity. I'll say that again. When one fully engages in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he gradually realizes his own spiritual identity. Unless one faithfully chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Krishna does not reveal himself. Sevam mukhihi jivado swayameva spuratyadaha. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234. We cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by any artificial means. We must engage faithfully in the service of the Lord. Such service begins with the tongue, Sevam mukhihi jivado, which means that we should always chant the holy names of the Lord and accept Krishna Prasad. We should not chant or accept anything else. When this process is faithfully followed, the Supreme Lord reveals himself to the devotee. Simple, right? When a person realizes himself to be an eternal servitor of Krishna, he loses interest in everything but Krishna's service. So this is another symptom of an advanced devotee, that virakti, he or she loses interest in other things. And that's something you can notice. You can note that in the character of somebody, what they have interest in. They lose interest in other things. You note it in yourself. You can see, as a person who's eating food, Bhakti parishanu bhavo virakti ranyatra traisha trike ekakala prapadyamanasya yatasana tushti pushti shuddha payonugasam. That person becomes nourished, satisfied, and the hunger goes away. So similarly, a person who's faithfully chanting Hare Krishna, surrendering to Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, feels a sense of bhakti. It's natural. It awakens within the heart. Then the person, Anubhav, sees Krishna for himself. And finally, and maybe most verifiable of all the three, Virakti Anyatra, becomes disinterested in all kinds of other things. So you can see that there's when you're hungry, you want so much food, but as soon as you become full and someone wants to give you more, it doesn't matter how palatable it is. It can be your favorite food. For me, it's avocados. I just got a thing about it. I can't help it. From California, I don't know what it is. But there's only so many avocados I can eat in one day. And so, even I love avocados, I can only eat one. And if somebody brings me 10 avocados, I'll think, thank you very much. Distribute them elsewhere because I can't honor all of them right now. So a person who's full, knows for him or herself that I'm not interested, I don't need anything else. And you can see that. It's a verifiable sign in yourself. And also, you'll notice in others that their senses are controlled and they're restrained in sense gratification. They take just as much as necessary to maintain the body and soul together. Not more, not less. It's just like salt. You don't need too much, and you don't want too little either. But when you cut your fingernails, you don't want to cut them too short. You're going to be in great pain, but you also don't want to leave them long. So you have to be balanced. When a person realizes himself to be the eternal servitor of Krishna, he loses interest in everything but Krishna's service. It's an interesting phrase, lose interest. Had interest? Where is it? I don't know, I lost it. It's just gone. I lost it somewhere. You lose it by getting your interest connected somewhere else. If you get interested in kirtan, it becomes your life and soul to hear these words, 16 words, 32 syllables. They're names of God. You can enter so deeply within the holy name. It'll take you, it's everything. The holy name is everything. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there's nothing else to be had in the 14 worlds. Just the holy name. So a person who finds that for themselves through kirtan, sankirtan, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and the association of advanced devotees who are chanting from the core of their hearts to please Krishna, you can find your interest there and lose your interest in the rest of the world. And Lord Chaitanya says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam ba jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhaktira haitukita. I don't care about anything else. I only care about devotional service. Just becomes fully interested in that. We have to be interested somewhere. But when we have a higher taste, a higher interest in life, the lower interest, they're not a consideration anymore. So we must see this in ourselves as verifiable symptom, and we should be able to discern in others. There's a flavor you'll find in pure Vaishnavas that they don't have interest anymore in the material world. Whatever connection they have to the material world, even if it's considerable, is all properly utilized and connected to Krishna. And therefore, it may appear that a person is surrounded by material things, but you have to see how he's yukta, he's connected at all to Krishna consciousness, because that's ultimately his only interest in life. Always thinking of Krishna, devising means by which to spread the holy name of the Lord, he understands that his only business is in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. That's another word, business. People take to business. You know what business means? Busyness. That's what it means, busyness. Everyone's got to be busy. What are you doing? I don't know, I'm busy. Most people are busy making money. And how much money can you make? You go on forever. If you make $1 million, you won't be happy because there's always more to make. And if you make $1 billion, there's billionaires out there. What's that guy's name? The big investor? Warren Buffett. He's worth billions. What's he doing right now? He's busy. I guarantee he's busy. He's busy figuring out how to make more. He lives by fairly modest means. He doesn't live in a huge house or anything like that. But he's busy making more money. Everyone's got to be busy. So here it says that the advanced devotee makes it his only business in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. So just like being industrials or investors, they're always thinking about how to spread their company far and wide, whatever. Devotees are working for Lord Chaitanya. That's their business. That's what they're busy in. They're doing the same things. They're doing the same things as Warren Buffett. I guarantee you, Sri Krishna Purushottam somewhere at home now, he's calculating somewhere. He's counting up numbers just like Warren Buffett is, but he's trying to figure out how to increase by 20% this year, how to do more book distribution. He's like Warren Buffett, but it's for the Sankirtan movement. So we should see what Warren Buffett does and then do it for Sankirtan. And this is busyness. You should be busy in spreading the Sankirtan movement all over the world. This is advancement. Such a person is to be recognized as an uttama-adhikari, and his association should be immediately accepted according to the 6 processes, dadati pratigranati. Indeed, the advanced uttama-adhikari Vaishnava devotee should be accepted as a spiritual master. Everything one possesses should be offered to him, for it is enjoined that one should deliver whatever he has to the spiritual master. The brahmacharya in particular is supposed to beg alms from others and offer them to the spiritual master. However, one should not imitate the behavior of an advanced devotee or Mahabhagavat without being self-realized, for by such imitation one will eventually become degraded. So Krishna points this out in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where he says that a person should act according to their qualification. Swe swe adhikarya nishta sagunam parikirtita. It's a good quality, he says, if you understand your adhikar, your position, and you act according to that, and don't try to imitate other stages of devotional service. It's okay to be who you are. It's okay. Just be sincere and determined in devotional service from whatever situation you're in now, and krame, step by step, you'll come to the Uttamadhikari platform. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between the Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The devotee should also know his own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has also given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. It's another symptom. And that word recognized has been used at least twice in this chapter. Do you remember when we heard it before? Recognized. It's an interesting word. Could you please look it up? Chop, chop. Okay. Somewhere else it says recognized. It's an interesting word. It has to do with cognition. In any case, Haribo, recognition. Okay, one should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttama Adhikari. A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well toward the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance. Therefore, disciples should be careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as spiritual master. Do we have a call-in number this morning? In case anyone wants to text who's watching? What's the call? No, I mean text in. Oh, text number? Okay, what is the text number? 814. That's the area code?
Yes.
Area code 814.
880-9284.
Say it 3 times. Real slow.
814-880-9284.
So if you want to text in any question or comment to this number.
814-880-9284.
One more time.
814-880-9284.
One more time.
814-880-9284.
Okay, you text in questions or comments, whatever you'd like. So I have a lot more to talk about today. We're in the midst of an ocean of nectar here, and we're swimming in it, but we'll take a few questions or comments. We welcome all the young devotees who just made a trek all the way across the continent practically to come here. Thank you very much for coming this morning. Hare Krishna. Okay, any questions or any comment? Narendra.
I just wanted to be clear about the word called self-realized, because self-realized are used generally for yogis, not for bhaktas, and that word is used, but there should be a particular meaning which you are attaching to that.
He's such a bhakta, you know. Any word that smacks of gyan or anything like that, he starts to get agitated. It's like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. See, this is what I'm talking about. When somebody comes from a line where their guru is engaged in pure devotional service, you can see it in the follower, in the disciple. So we see that in you. Yes, self-realization according to context. It really means to understand that I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. That's real self-realization. Other questions? Yes, Shraddha Devi Dasi. Where are all the microphones? And bring somebody, move up a little bit, and someone from ISV make sure that all the devotees who just arrived are very, very comfortable and happy in all ways. And make sure that the devotees who come in after them are happy and comfortable in all ways, too. Okay, let's wait 1 second till everyone slows down. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone okay? You ready to listen? Okay, undivided attention.
So Maharaj, I had a question on the Brahma Samhita verse that
Yes.
we read in the morning. So they were talking about the various types of yogas. One of them was trying to merge with the Brahman. And the second one they mentioned was Ashtanga Yoga. And it said the goal was to attain a state of exclusive existence. What does that mean, exclusive existence?
There's Sat Chit Ananda. These are the various aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vadanti tat tat vavidas tattvam yaj jnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. The Supreme Absolute Truth is Advaya Gyan Tattva. He's one, but the verse says Vadanti tat tat vavidas. But it is said by the authorities that he's realized in 3 different phases according to the approach. So when one takes the mechanical approach of yoga through Ashtanga, this step-by-step process to control the senses and still the mind, which is the goal of Ashtanga, so that one can see for oneself the Supersoul, one experiences the aspect of chit, or existence. But one must perform bhakti in order to experience ananda, or one's relationship. Yene ravindaksha vimuktamaninas. One has to have relationship with the lotus-eyed Lord. Of course, in Ashtanga Yoga, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, those who study it very carefully find that Patanjali himself talks about these different mechanical stages to come to this stage of seeing one's eternal existence as part and parcel of the Lord, and seeing the Supersoul. But he said, if you want a shortcut, then there's Ishvara Pranidhan, which means just submit yourself to the Supreme Lord, submission. And then you'll come to the perfectional stage, Ishvara Pranidhan. Another question? Yes. Okay, that's all right. Leave that one back there. That's for Sector 2. This is for Sector 1. Go ahead.
Probably you had mentioned that devotional service is everything and everything else is secondary. As a practical application, like generally we see that Saturdays and Sundays here, it is really, we kind of do lots of devotional activities, but Monday to Friday seems to go only in work. But so we really cannot do much of preaching during that time. So is it, but we consider working also as devotional service. So is that correct, or can...
What's the question?
So the question is that the time we spend directly on preaching from Monday to Friday is very less compared to what happens on Saturday and Sunday. Is that okay?
It's natural. Yeah, so there's no impediment to pure devotional service. And as we heard from the verse of the purport of the Brahma Samhita, there are ways in which we connect all our worldly activities, those secondary activities that are needed to perform our worldly duties. We connect those to Krishna. And so even while we're working, those activities can be connected to Krishna. How Krishna recommends that you sacrifice the fruit of the work and give it to him. You'll think about him that way, because then that activity is connected. And at the same time, we go on with our process of chanting Hare Krishna and hearing and chanting. The direct processes, 9 processes of devotional service. And in the Gita 8th chapter, Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmarayudyacha mayarpita mano buddhir mami vaishyat yasamshayaha. That you go on with your work, but at the same time you chant Hare Krishna and remember me. And in this way, without fail, you'll attain me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that in the beginning, or should I say, in various phases of our life, we may have more obligation to perform worldly activities. And our direct process of bhakti may be down here, and our other activities may be here. But as we go through the various phases of our life, and we continue to practice our bhakti, we'll gradually get more and more facility. And as we get more and more faith in the process of devotional service, we'll become more attached to it. And as a natural course throughout one's life, connecting everything to Krishna and continuing with one's process of chanting Hare Krishna, you'll come to the position. It's like the old days. These chances are really something in there, Hansapriya. That you'll have exclusively be able to engage in the process of hearing and chanting. Okay? Yes.
Prabhu, like in the process, like Harinam initiations, then it by step it come to the Uttamadhikari. But is there like we see like some persons symptoms of Uttamadhikari, but he don't have like in Harinam initiations even. So is that like any persons can be calculated as Uttamadhikari without even Harinam initiation?
Yeah, it's possible if somebody has a really high samskar from their last life. Generally, you don't see that in Kali Yuga too much because the age is very contaminated, so most people require initiation. That's why the acharyas say that along with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one should accept the Panchatriki rules and regulations and Panchatric initiation. That's to keep you pure so you can go on chanting Hare Krishna without offense. Otherwise, you fall into the bodily conception of life. But the acharyas admit that maybe there may be somebody who's flying through here in this lifetime with very high past and comes in this life with very high samskars. However, they say that such a person would also accept initiation to set an example for others, because such a high-minded person would understand that I shouldn't just flaunt the system, but they'll, for the good of everybody else, follow the system.
We have 3 text messages.
We have 3 text messages. Okay, who are they from, and what are the
first one is Jim Warnadore.
Jim, all right, Bhakti Jim in San Diego. Go ahead.
I said, good morning, Gurudev. I'm so happy that you explained the types of initiations, and I'm also glad to hear about faith.
Thank you. What a nice comment. Hare Krishna. I'm glad you liked it.
The second one, Hare Krishna, this is Pratibha. This word undeterred is stuck with me, which is...
The word what?
This word undeterred.
Undeterred.
Yeah. Is stuck with me, which is devotee gets courageous. That is so true. As we advance, we don't care what others think. What other things, only thing that matters is, am I pleasing Guru and Krishna?
Pratibha texting in from the Sacramento area. Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. Next.
This is from Ankit. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. How do we understand and discriminate between the thoughts and inspirations coming off the mind and from Supersoul. We know that in our conditioned state, we cannot feel the presence of Supersoul, so there is no question to listening to him and his guidance. So how do we understand the inspirations coming from the Supersoul who is constantly guiding us in our spiritual life? Your servant Ankit.
Actually, we can feel the presence of Supersoul in our conditioned life. And Prabhupada explains this in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he gives a process by which you can understand the presence of the Supersoul in your heart by introspecting and step by step ruling out that you're the material body, and then observing that you're not your mind. And then he shows that, he says that the intelligence that we get is the form direction of Supersoul. So, in fact, even from an empiric observation of the way people create in the world, we can see Supersoul at work and understand his presence. For instance, those who are working on problems will find that the solutions come rather automatically. In fact, there's a lot of self-help books like Think and Grow Rich, where they talk about the superconscious mind that's always present. People understand the fact that there's a higher intelligence in the universe, and this is Supersoul. So we can witness Sarvasya Chaham Redesani Vishto Mattak Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha, how intelligence flows in, and if we're observant, we can actually see how Supersoul is present. Now, his question was also, how can we distinguish what's our own mind and what's the Supersoul through Shastra? So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, follow Shastra. You should understand what the scripture is, what the scripture says, and you should follow it. And to do that, you should also take the guidance of advanced devotees, sadhus. So Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. You have to have guidance. Just like if you walk in and you look at law books and you're not well educated, you won't know where to start. But if you get a good lawyer, then you'll be properly instructed and you'll be able to get yourself out of a lot of trouble. So you can understand what's the difference by understanding what's in the Shastra and taking personal guidance from the sadhus and from the guru. Okay? Any other question?
Can I make a small comment?
Yes.
There are everybody's not.
You better hold that
everybody's not me only. I think goes into different states. Sometimes he's in tamasic mode. Sometimes he's in rasic mode. Sometimes in sattvic mode. And when somebody is really in sattvic mode, generally at that moment somebody hears his Supersoul. He doesn't hear very much when he's in tamasic mode or rasic mode, and that's one thing which I have found in my life. And once anything comes from the Supersoul, it sticks to you for your whole life. It doesn't go away then. That's a very big experience. It's an experience. It is not just a thought.
Nice point. Sattvam yad brahmadarshanam. Bhagavatam says that from sattvagun you can see Brahman, not from Raja or Rajogun or from Tamagun you can't see the spirit or understand. Jai Gopal.
On that note, I had a experience when I first joined the temple. I definitely was not in Sattvagun, but it was an experience that I had been a month with the devotees. I have only heard from devotees, like within that month I didn't leave. And I was in Seattle and I just got frustrated. I said, you know what? I told the temple president, I just want to speak to someone who's not a devotee right now. And then I left the temple in the middle of the night, called my friend to pick me up, and I wanted to go back to my best friend's house and just see. And I was really mental and disturbed at the moment. I was sitting at a gas station, and I was just like, I had my japa bag, and I looked at it, I said, I don't know, God, Krishna, whatever your name is, if you could just show me a sign whether or not I'm on the right path or not, just kind of like let me know if I'm doing the right thing. I was really disturbed. And then all of a sudden this guy came up, tried to sell me some crack. And then he said that, well, man, you ever heard of Jesus? And he started preaching to me. I said, thank you, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then my friend picked me up. He was like, here, have a cigarette. I got some chicken at the house. I got this, and I just realized, I tried to show him a video about Prabhupada, and they would just started criticizing up and down. I said, what, take me back to the temple. I'm going to be with the devotees. It was Krishna was showing me right there. So he was kind of working from outside, but inside I was deeply praying to Krishna. I was praying to God, just kind of show me, make sure I'm doing the right thing. And he showed me all these bad association and everything.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport. In this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things, and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now, buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness and devotional service, his action is called buddhi yoga. In other words, buddhi yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this, therefore the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions, so he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness, and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. Okay, I'm going to read you some more nectar from Prabhupada's books. This is the eligibility of a candidate for accepting devotional service. So far, just to bring you up to date, if you just came in, we're the subject matter this morning is verifiable symptoms of an advanced Vaishnava. The word verifiable, verify, comes from veris in Latin, which means true. And learn the verifiable symptoms of spiritual advancement as taught in the bona fide scriptures. Quote, spiritual masters do not become perfect souls by dint of their serving as initiating gurus, nor do they become perfect simply because they are supported by zealous neophyte disciples. The only indication of a devotee's degree of advancement is the presence of the discernible qualities that have systematically been described in Scripture. Therefore, one should evaluate Vaishnavas in general and spiritual masters in particular by the presence or absence of these qualities. That quote's from the Suddha-bhakti-cintamani by Shivaram Swami. I thought it was a good point because we have to be guided by a Shastra and understand, according to Rupa Goswami, who is an advanced Vaishnava or what level of a Vaishnava is situated in and what level we're situated in according to the tenets of the Shastra. and then we're properly guided. And we can also accept proper guidance rather than just accepting blindly, which is never a good thing. Well, actually, it can be if you accept the right thing blindly. This is from the Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 3, Eligibility of the Candidate for Accepting Devotional Service. This has to do with adhikari, or qualification. On account of his association with Mahatmas, or great souls 100% engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, one may gain a little bit of attraction for Sri Krishna. But at the same time, one may remain very much attached to fruitive activities and material sense enjoyment, and not be prepared to undergo the different types of renunciation. Such a person, if he has unflinching attraction to Krishna, becomes an eligible candidate for discharging devotional service. So this point is that devotional service comes from a pure devotee. We, by the association of a Vaishnava, even unknowingly, can pick up that seed of pure devotional service within our heart. This is called agyata sukriti. A living entity wandering in the material world comes in contact one way or another with a devotee, and even unknowingly renders some service or hears something, has some contact, then that spark of pure devotional service is implanted, and there's a way in which it appears at a certain time. Adao shraddha tata sadasanga. That in the beginning there's this shraddha, or faith, or a sentiment towards devotional service. It's born, and all of you who interact with others can see that some people, no matter how much you tell them about devotional service, don't get it, or they're not interested, whereas other people are naturally attracted. This is because of their adhikari, their qualification to take to devotional service, and it begins with shraddha, or faith, and shraddha comes from sadhu sangha. Sadhus are the agents that carry Krishna's mercy in this world. Just like there's some companies that don't sell directly to the public. You have to go right to the agent. If you call them up, you say, I need, 20 packs of your super vitamin, they'll say, we don't sell to the public. You have to contact, Mr. Rogers down the street, and he'll sell to you. So Krishna's like that too. He sells through his devotees. This attraction for Krishna consciousness in association with pure devotees is the sign of great fortune. It is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya that only the fortunate persons, by the mercy of both a bona fide spiritual master and Krishna, will get the seed of devotional service. In this connection, Lord Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 8. Could you pull that out really quick? That's 11:28. My dear Uddhava, only by exceptional fortune does someone become attracted to me. And even if one is not completely detached from fruitive activities, or is not completely attached to devotional service, such service is quickly effective. Devotees may be divided into three classes. The devotee in the first or uppermost class is described as follows. He is very expert in the study of relevant scriptures. Here it is. 11:28. This is Krishna speaking to Uddhava about pure devotional service. Yadrishaya matkata dao jatashadas tuya puman na nirvinno na tisakto bhakti yogo siddhita. If somehow or other by good fortune one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted with nor attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. Purport. If somehow or other one gets the association of pure devotees of the Lord and hears from them the transcendental message of Lord Krishna, then one has the chance to become a devotee of the Lord. As mentioned in the previous verse, those who become disgusted with material life take to impersonal philosophical speculation by rigorously trying to stamp out any trace of personal existence. Those who are still attached to material sense gratification try to purify themselves by offering the fruits of their ordinary activities to the Supreme. A first-class candidate for pure devotional service, on the other hand, is neither completely disgusted with nor attached to material life. He does not desire to pursue ordinary material existence any further because it cannot award real happiness. Nevertheless, a candidate for devotional service does not give up all hope for perfecting personal existence. A person who avoids the two extremes of material attachment and impersonal reaction to material attachment, and who somehow or other gets the association of pure devotees, faithfully hearing their message, is a good candidate for going back home, back to Godhead, as described here by the Lord. The extremes, yeah. Devotees are divided into three classes. The devotee in the first or uppermost class is described as follows. He is expert in studying the revealed scriptures and is also expert in putting forward arguments in those scriptures. Is that a verifiable symptom of an advanced devotee? What do you think? Verifiable? Can you verify that somebody knows the scripture? You can verify that. Okay, so this is a verifiable symptom of an advanced devotee. The first or uppermost class is described as follows. He is very expert in studying of revealed scriptures. This is called Sunipana by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It means somebody who knows how the scriptures connect together and what their ultimate purpose is, and knows how to present them to other people. Sunipana means expert. He can very nicely present conclusions with perfect discretion and can consider the ways of devotional service in a decisive way. He understands perfectly that the ultimate goal of life is to attain the transcendental loving service of Krishna, and he knows that Krishna is the only object of worship and love. This first-class devotee is one who has strictly followed the rules and regulations under the training of a bona fide spiritual master and has sincerely obeyed him in accord with the revealed scriptures. Thus, being fully trained to preach and become a spiritual master himself, he is considered first class. The first-class devotee never deviates from the principles of higher authority, and he attains firm faith in the scriptures by understanding with all reason and arguments. When we speak of arguments and reason, it means arguments and reasons on the basis of revealed scriptures. The first-class devotee is not interested in dry speculative methods meant for wasting time. In other words, one who has attained a mature determination in the matter of devotional service can be accepted as a first-class devotee. That's so nice. Let's talk about it a little bit. What did you hear in there that you found stimulating? Yes.
I can't repeat it word for word, but basically that the bona fide spiritual master is a perfect disciple of his spiritual master, and that he's been fully trained, has followed all the principles and rules and regulations as put forth by his previous spiritual master, and has obviously fully satisfied his spiritual master, so that he's now gotten the mercy from his spiritual master to give Krishna consciousness to others as well.
Nice point. So spiritual masters make other spiritual masters through training. Otherwise, what are they doing? So I'll read that again. This first-class devotee is one who has strictly followed the rules and regulations under the training of a bona fide spiritual master and has sincerely obeyed him in accord with revealed scriptures. Thus, being fully trained to preach and become a spiritual master himself, he is considered first class. Yeah, nice point. What else?
In the outside world, we see like there's so much speculation goes on in this. Prabhupada clearly mentioned he's not engaged in the speculation. He's clear with the conclusive truth of the Vedas and Shastras.
When you walk into court and you're a bona fide lawyer and you walk before the judge and you say, this guy's guilty. And the judge says, why? And you say, I don't know, I just think so. No, you have to walk in and say, no, according to the case law and precedent and quote from the theory of law that comes from the law books and has been held up by previous courts, that this is why he's guilty. And then the judge will consider it. Otherwise, in the spiritual court, people who work, act, talk outside the revealed scriptures are a disturbance to society. Yes? Narendra.
There was one bhakta in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. He was reading Bhagavad Gita in a wrong way. Means he was holding it upside down, and he was very, very happy. And Lord Chaitanya gave him a great remarks, and he said, "You are the right reader of the Bhagavad Gita," because he was so enthusiastic. Others were laughing at him. And now he didn't know anything about Shastras. But Lord Chaitanya gave him a great remarks. He was best when Vaisnavas. And the second example which I...
Hold on.
Okay.
We'll just...
Same.
I'm challenge your premise. He actually knew everything about Shastra. That's the whole point of that story. Yasya Devi para bhaktir yata Devi tatagaro tasya de katita hirta prakashanti mahatmanaha. One who has implicit faith in the spiritual master and Krishna simultaneously, to him the real purport of the Vedas is revealed. On the other hand, one may be a Veda Vadarati. He may be expert in Sanskrit, he may have studied all the Vedas, but then come out with preposterous statements about Krishna and his devotees and miss the mark altogether because he doesn't have that faith. He's not a Shraddhavan. He's not a faithful person, actually. There are lots of scholars. You can listen to this tape. I recommend it highly, from early 1970s of His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj debating Professor Swami Bharati at the University of California. It is fantastic. And it shows a couple things. One is that even a very, very new devotee who's under the care of a bona fide spiritual master following Shastra can come out and challenge a scholar who knows Sanskrit and everything else, but who doesn't have faith, and comes out with all kinds of speculative reasoning. Hridayananda Maharaj hands down won that debate in the front of everybody. He was a little more zealous at that time, being a young devotee, than he would be now. But still, you can see that he's fortified by not only Shastra, but also by faith, which gives him a correct way of presenting it and the conclusion of the Shastra. So the story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about the Brahmin who was illiterate or wasn't able to pronounce the Sanskrit, but who was given the task by his spiritual master to read the whole Bhagavad Gita every day, is an example of how a person becomes elevated in knowledge by performing sincere devotional service. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayat Yashuvairagyam Jnanam Cha Yarahaitukam. If someone's engaged in sincere devotional service, there's no way that he or she is going to be without knowledge and detachment. In fact, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was the greatest scholar of his time, and his spiritual master was not a literary person at all. Yes, you had another point.
I didn't ask my question yet. In the similar line, gopis were the teacher, or they, what is his name? As Lord Krishna sent somebody to Uddhava. Uddhava considered gopis as his teachers or guru, and gopis were never read any shastras, but they had a great love for Lord Krishna, and that is why. So such teachers who are illiterate in superficially, they are illiterate, but they are literate in experience. So how do you recognize such deep down teachers or Vaisnavas?
Practically, they're self-effulgent. This is one of the ways of understanding somebody who's very advanced, is they're self-effulgent. Of course, we're taking also help from Shastra because that can be misused and everyone can say, oh, self-effulgent. but practically when Shukadeva Goswami showed up in an assembly of sages, when Parikshit Maharaj had sat down to die at the bank of the Ganga, everyone stood up to honor him. They hadn't heard what he had to say yet. They recognized him from his physiognomy and from his effulgence. And there's a way in which great souls will collaborate and make a conclusion about who is an advanced devotee. There'll be a consensus among other advanced devotees, and that's another indication that somebody is advanced in devotional service. Everyone okay? Sure? Okay. The second class devotee has been defined by the following symptoms. He is not very expert in arguing on the strength of revealed scriptures, but he has firm faith in the objective. The purpose of this description is that the second class devotee has firm faith in the procedure of devotional service under Krishna, but he may sometimes fail to offer arguments and decisions on the strength of revealed scripture to an opposing party. But at the same time, he is still undaunted within himself as to his decision that Krishna is the supreme object of worship. The neophyte or third-class devotee is one whose faith is not strong and who, at the same time, does not recognize the decision of the revealed scripture. The neophyte's faith can be changed by someone with strong arguments or by an opposite decision. Like the second-class devotee who also cannot put forth arguments and evidences from the scripture, but who still has all faith in the objective, the neophyte has no firm faith in the objective. Thus he is called a neophyte devotee. So, just a few points about these things. The Kanishta Adhikari, whereas the Uttama Adhikari is called Sunipana, expert in the Shastra, and connecting everything together and offering a logic about the supremacy of God, Jiva and devotional service. Jiva Goswami calls the neophyte devotee anipuna. Means he's not expert in that. He doesn't know the Shastra. He's not conversant with Shastra. This means that doesn't mean he doesn't know Shastra at all, but he has a little knowledge, less than the Madhyama Adhikari. And his faith, or if you're using the metaphor of the creeper, it's komal shraddha. It means like his faith is very tender and it can be easily broken. Just like a little sprout that comes up is very, very fragile and tender. Weak faith. The weak faith, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in the verse, means temporary unsteadiness of the heart when defeated by strong materialistic opponents. Later, the person regains faith in what the Guru has taught by his own judgment. So it means that a person can be temporarily dissuaded from devotional service, the Kanishta Adhikari. Whereas a Madhyama Adhikari, although he may not be able to return the argument, stand up by using scripture, he's not dissuaded by different arguments. His faith remains strong. He's undeterred. Undeterred, which we heard earlier, means he doesn't run away. He's not frightened. He's not discouraged. And Uttama Adhikari, Shastra Yukta Sunipana, conversant with scripture and logic. And we heard earlier that the most advanced devotee is not interested in blaspheming others. It means nindari shunya hridamipsita sangalabhya. He doesn't have the tendency anymore to criticize others. It doesn't mean that if he has dependents, like children or disciples or something like that, he doesn't tell them, don't put your hand on the stove, don't do that again, something like that. It means the pernicious tendency to drag other people down because he can't tolerate the eminence of another. this is the symptom of envy, according to Jiva Goswami, that when we can't tolerate another's being better than us, or more qualified in some way, then we tend to want to either outwardly criticize him or employ damnation through faint praise, according to Shakespeare. Oh yeah, that was pretty good. The specific qualification for becoming the representative of the Lord is to be unaffected by the material modes of nature. So this is another point when we have to judge in ourselves how we're affected by the modes of material nature. This is much the subject of the Bhagavad Gita, how to observe what modes of nature are working at which times and how they're working on us and on others, and be able to observe, am I beyond the modes of nature? Krishna gives the symptoms of somebody who's not disturbed in all kinds of circumstances, so we should be able to judge that. That's a verifiable symptom. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is his specific qualification as a devotee. So we should be, our eyes should be trained to notice our own faults instead of noticing the faults of others. I should be noting what my faults are and making improvements. And then finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says another verifiable symptom of an advanced devotee is that his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi. One has to have the Shakti of Krishna to convert others. Jai Gopal.
How do we, within a society, within living in close quarters with other devotees, when we understand, let's say one's researching all these symptoms of an advanced devotee, but then we see in other devotees there's not that, but then we're not supposed to see that devotees, we're supposed to see it in ourselves. Do we just kind of I know that we're supposed to focus on our own advancement or spiritual life and ignore the faults of others, but at the same time we're supposed to see everyone as more advanced than us. So how do we do that practically when we see, when one actually becomes learned in the scripture, there's the tendency to want to see that, oh, okay, well, this person's not really...
Well, in the Madhyamadikari platform, we don't see everyone as more advanced than us. That's not our station. The Madhyamadikari, Ishvare Taradineshu Balisheshu Dusatsucha Prema Maitri Kripopeksha Yakaroti Samadhyamaha. Kavi Yogendra says, the symptoms of a Madhyam are that he sees four things, four categories. He sees the Supreme Lord. He knows the Lord is the goal of life. And then he sees the devotees, those he recognizes the symptoms of devotion in others. And then he sees the innocent. They don't know about devotional service. They don't know about God, but they're innocent. They're open. And then he sees the envious, those who are against God. And he acts differently according to those four different entities. Offers his love to God. He makes appropriate friendships with all those who are devotees. He pours in as much mercy as possible to those who are innocent. And for the envious, he's upeksha, indifferent. He doesn't engage with them. So there's a practical way when we're in an ashram and we're in a society of devotees that we have to, as we heard earlier, judge the particular qualifications of various devotees and associate with them appropriately. And so before you came in, we heard from verse 5 of the Nectar of Instruction, where Rupa Goswami talks about various levels of devotees. And one level of devotee is a person who chants Hare Krishna for any reason. And that person we offer our respects within our mind. But it doesn't mean that you have to consider him more advanced than you and take his association. You may avoid such a person. You may respect them from a distance because they may still have bad habits. They may be performing devotional service in the mode of ignorance or passion or even goodness. And Then there's the madhyam, the person who has taken initiation is strictly following the process of devotional service. To that person, we offer our obeisances and respect demonstratively. And then there's the uttamadikari, the person who has been a standout in devotional service, continued the process, and is concerned only with spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, no shastra and so forth. Those kinds of devotees we should associate with intimately. That means we should serve them and try to hear what they have to say and so forth, because that's the source of our advancement. That's actually how we move forward in devotional service. When we get advanced association and we hear in that association, then we'll become elevated in Krishna consciousness. All our advancement in the beginning, in the middle, and the end comes from sadhu sangha. Yes.
What about if we're living in an area where we practically can't see any physical uttama adhikari? Can we get that same inspiration from Srila Prabhupada's books, or does it have to be a physical uttama
Well, no doubt
adhikari?
we get them from Prabhupada's books, but we also, in order to really instill faith in the heart of devotees, we also have to see that Prabhupada's books are working on somebody, somewhere.
Right.
I mean, if you go to a karate studio or something like that and you say, I want to sign up, and they say, well, our teacher's gone. He left the world 2 years ago, and none of us can teach you. Yeah. Or it's like, what kind of teacher was there? Yeah. And what's, why would you then, want to take up their practice if nobody made any advancement out of that? So there are advanced devotees. All we have to do is find someone more advanced than ourselves. It shouldn't be hard. Right. Be innovative. Go to the ends of the earth. This is part of the instruction given by Rupa Goswami. Krishna ras bhakti bhavitomati kriyatam yadi krito pralabhyate. Tatalolyam api mulyam ekalam janmakoti sukritirna labhyate. Recognizing that you can't get bhakti by performing any kind of pious activity for millions of births. You get it by rajo abhishekam, by taking the dust of the lotus feet of the devotee. He says you should be greedy for that. Try to get it wherever you can. Try to, in this day and age too, you can connect to devotees all over the planet in 5 seconds. Through Skype. That's association. It's physical association. It's whether it's the same as being in the same room practically. Not exactly, but I'm saying we should use whatever means we can. We happen to be in an age when we have mystic powers at our disposal. It's just like with Sanjaya, he was seeing the battle of Kurukshetra going on. We can see so many things. We can tune into Mayapur TV and watch, a million things going on around the world at the same time. But even that's not the same. Point is, Guyam Akyati Prichiti, we should align ourselves purposefully with advanced devotees. And as much as possible, get their association. Hear and chant an association of advanced devotees who are like-minded. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prescription for advancement in devotional service. Gyane prayasam udapasya namante eva jivanti san mukaritam bhavadiyavartam. Stane stita shutikatam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jitadyiso kasitais trilokyam. You can conquer the Supreme Lord who's unconquerable. If you just give up speculation and you become a submissive hearer in the association of advanced devotees, then by that process you'll become advanced yourself. And it's a fact. And especially pleasing is to be in the association of very advanced devotees and read Prabhupada's books. That's especially gratifying, and because, somebody might read Prabhupada's books even. I've heard one devotee had a theory that, we shouldn't interfere with anybody. As soon as you get a new bhakta, lock him in a room and just throw Prabhupada's books in there and then run away as fast as you can. Don't try to influence them in any way. That will just pollute them, And but this is a kind of a philosophy that was preached by psychologists back in the 60s, like Dr. Spock, who talked about raising children without touching them and so on. And they ended up being neurotic and crazy, actually. It actually takes personal touch from the hearts of devotees who are faithful and who have actually practiced, what they heard from their spiritual master and so on. And if you hear in the association, for instance, if you sit in a room for 30 days and hear Prabhupada's books in the association of advanced devotees who have practiced what's in Prabhupada's books, you'll get 1,000,000 times more realization than if you just, curl up by a fire and say, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm going to find out for myself through the database. And I'm not interested in any guru kind of thing, The guru thing, you can just leave that alone. I got a database. Don't worry about me. The person will grow up like Dr. Spock's baby, all neurotic and kind of a spiritual misfit, not mature, not integrated into the generations that are necessary through respecting generations of devotees and appreciating the subtleties of devotional service. And subtleties means how we act among devotees. That's what Rupa Goswami is talking about. How do we associate with various classes of devotees appropriately? We respect them all because Vaishnavism is a philosophy of respect, because we see Krishna within everything. And we're respecting, but in appropriate ways. That's personalism. Impersonalism means we merge it all together, or we speculate something on our own.
That's very nice. The answer was perfect. I was just talking with a Prabhupada disciple who did a lot of service in the movement, one of the original Prabhupada disciples, and he's no longer full-time working within ISKCON, but he told me some things that was very nice. And one of them, he was saying that Prabhupada instilled a lot of confidence, just like you were talking about. Hridayananda Maharaj was preaching with so much, utsahan, and I was thinking about this, that also when I met my spiritual master, he had a lot of confidence, and that was the first thing that attracted me to Srila Prabhupada's books. The philosophy took a while to get, but when I read Prabhupada's books, I said, here's someone who's not whimsical. He's saying, this is here, and he was very strong. And he was telling me that in the early days, devotees, Prabhupada instilled so much confidence that the devotees would just go out and grab people off the streets, shave them up on the streets and put tilak on. I heard, devotees would put tilak on people in Harinam, and bring them back to the temple. He said, no, I don't want to go back. He said, no, you're coming back to the temple. And they had so much confidence, and he said this is something that might be not so much, I don't know. That's one thing he was saying. I didn't know what you wanted to say, if you had something to say about that.
Well, when we know what the follow-through is and where we're bringing someone, we'll have confidence. I mean, if you know that the service at a restaurant or something like that is first class, and you know what to expect, you'll tell people, go there. It's really good, But if you've been there and you've had a few bad experiences, then you asked for cold water and they brought hot water. There was a fly in it or something like that. You're not going to go out and tell all your friends, yeah, go to that restaurant, because they'll think, what'd you tell me to go there for? So that we have to find our niche. Within any organization, there are like-minded devotees. Not that we form cliques, but we have to find where we can function properly and with our whole heart and give our whole service. And fortunately, all over ISKCON, there are enclaves where one can do this, and you can find your niche and be very comfortable. There are well-adjusted devotees who are either very advanced or are advancing towards the position of being very advanced, having practiced what Prabhupada preaches in his books for 40 plus years. And if they're not, and if you can't find that or see that, then you're not looking, in the right way. And also, if they're not, then you might as well run away from the philosophy. Because if people have practiced for that long, that sincerely and steadily, and they're not advanced, then you shouldn't follow it either. Because if they can't do it, if there's that little potency within it, then you can't do it. But you do have to find your niche. You have to find where you can be engaged in devotional service. Ahaitukiya pratiyata means uninterrupted and unmotivated devotional service. You find that environment and stick to it. It doesn't matter if it's on the dark side of the moon. Go there and find it and stick to it. And when we stick to that kind of association, then we'll make advancement. We'll make advancement in devotional service, guaranteed. It comes from sadhu sangha. It's available. It's always available. Krishna doesn't leave the world without sadhus in it. Well, we're just getting started and the time's up and it's really sad. Anyway, what to do? Okay, this is a quick comment because we got to end today because there's this beautiful seminar coming up right afterwards. Devotees have to take
Maharaj, you're talking about the greed, and like I can see like many devotees, they just dial in from Sacramento, from Canada, from South America, from
Canada.
Dallas.
Somebody called in from Canada. Did we get another text?
Just known, but just few days before, so I was
Okay.
just saying like how really it manifests. The devotee from like today, Pratibha Mataji, she is very down in Sacramento. There's no practical association of any devotees there.
Yeah.
But she is trying to connect with devotees, so it's practically manifesting here to that what you told, that devotees how all over.
Yeah, tune in. Yeah,
Tune in.
tune in. What did Tim Leary used to say? Turn on, tune in. What was first? Turn on, tune in? Tune in, turn on, drop out. That's a similar, we have philosophy, only he was using LSD. Our thing is Krishna Kata. Tune in, then turn on, and drop out. Drop out of the material. Well, where'd he go? Yeah, he dropped out. He went back to Goloka Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki, Go Premanande Haribo. Okay, now we have the honor and privilege of putting all the Shastra deities back. These are the revered scriptures, so put them back with great care but efficiency. And then we have Prasadam coming up immediately. We did Guru Puja earlier because the seminar is going to start in about 15 minutes. So please take prasad. Hare Krishna. Sharira Vijajao Jodendriya Tahika Jibe Bilivisha Shogare Dharma Jejivayati Lobamai Sudurmati Takejita Katina Shangshare Krishna Boratoyamoy Horibare Jihajai Shop Prashara Dilobai Shayanam Rita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Preme Dako Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprashare Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave Sapa Punyavatam Brajan Vishvaso Naivajayate Prasare Sarvadhukanam Hanirasyo Prajayate Prasanna Chitaso Hyashu Buddhi Paryavatishtate Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasad Ki Jai Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji Ki Jai.